All righty, folks, as we wrap up 2026, I think it's time to talk about the end of the year. Why? Because at the end of the year, it will obviously set us up for 2026. There's a lot of chatter about the housing market potentially imploding next week based on a Newsweek article I read. But I actually think there's a lot of other things that people are missing. So in this conversation, we're going to talk about some shocking real estate, mortgage, housing data that I think most people are missing. Matt, we're going to play a game of ping pong where you say one, I say one. You're the guest. You go first.
Okay, so you want me to say something that I'm noticing in the housing market?
Correct. And why is
Okay.
it shocking? I mean, it could be good or bad. It doesn't have
Yeah.
either way.
I mean, I think for all the doom and gloom and poo-poo that housing market gets, what to me, at face value is relatively shocking is the data, right? And as a numbers nerd, data doesn't lie. Existing homes in the U.S., like as of October 2025, sales wise rose. I think the number was like 1.2% month over month. And if you look at year over year, it's like a 1.7% increase in existing home sales. A lot of people wouldn't guess that, I would imagine, because they have the feeling or they've heard or they've seen like, oh, the market's kind of slow. And granted, we're looking at month over month and year over year numbers from a slow housing market, but there seems to be, and I'm seeing this in my personal business, kind of, resurgence or, some renewed faith in housing where people are either finally stepping off the fence or, they're stepping into housing. A lot of conversations I have are great. Like I talked to somebody who I hadn't talked to in quite some time. One of those buyers that is able to buy, as in qualified, but just looked at it maybe 6, 9, 12 months ago and said, nah, thanks, I'm good. Right.
Yeah.
And I looked at our last conversation where they're like, hey, rates are down to 6.5%. And that was from 7. And they were excited. And
Yeah.
I talked to this person again. I said, not only do you have rates probably closer to 6 now, so another 0.5%, but you also have some sellers that don't have people lining up and people are writing deals. And so, this buyer got super excited, as they probably should be, for a time in housing where I think there's increased home sales because there's a certain percentage of buyers that feel and see the opportunity.
Yeah. I think the first one, and there's so many I could point at, I'm going to point at delistings, right? Delistings up 28% year on year. There were 85,000 delistings, fastest pace in the last decades. And all I got to say is I told you so. I told you that this was going to come. And it's actually an amazing thing because when you remove delistings, what I often call wish pricing, what you are left with is a larger percentage of motivated sellers. Think about the people that are willing to have open houses between Thanksgiving and Christmas. They are motivated.
Right.
And again, our job as buyers, as investors, is to get the best deal possible. I want you to realize that 85,000 delistings, 28% growth year on year is amazing because it lowers or raises, depending on how you want to look at it, it raises the percentage of motivated sellers. So write the offers, realize that buyers, agents, everybody's going to be taking the holidays off. It is your time to strike. Olivia and I did 60% of our deals between Halloween and New Year's Day. So stop being lazy, do the work. In fact, I'll go one step further. This 4-day weekend that we have for Thanksgiving, an amazing time for disrespectful offers. Nobody is doing the work. Everybody's got their eye off the ball. Write offers. So that's my first one. What do you got next?
Yeah, that's a great one. And one little piece of advice for that is, I think you've said this before, Mike, and as a buyer right now who's coming out of a 1031, I am seeing this in a whole new light. Sometimes you have to write the offers to find out who's serious.
Correct.
Because there's stuff that's been on for 95 days. And I'm like, man, why has it been on for 95 days? If I could get that for 20,000 off a list, that'd be a really good deal. You write them 20,000 off list and they're not even considering it. This seller is stubborn and they're at this price and they're not moving.
Yeah.
Oh, no wonder they're sitting. They're not a serious seller. So
exactly,
to your point, you sometimes you have to actually throw the offer out to see, oh, this guy's just testing, messing around, not really a serious seller. One thing I want to mention that I think is a surprise because of the seat that I sit in is rates came down. There was this mad rush, I feel, in September, and a lot of those deals closed in October for refinance because people were in 7%, 7.25%, 7.5%, and so many loans got written. I had my best month in close to 4 years, I believe. I had, tons of other colleagues that I saw had their best month. Companies I saw had their best month. Now, there is probably, of the hundreds of thousands of people that there was opportunity for them to refinance and save money, and it made sense from a pure math perspective, only 20 or 30% of those people probably acted on that. The other 70%, I'm surprised that mortgage refinance hasn't continued to chug along. And one reason for this, if I were to think like what happened, like humans are so herd mentality, they're so like driven by what they're hearing, feeling, and seeing, that in September everybody was talking about it and people did it. And now it's like, you're probably not getting bombarded as much. You're probably not seeing as much on that. But I still look at stuff, and I looked at one yesterday. I go, holy cow, like this person for sure was notified in September, was followed up with, like, what in the heck are they waiting for? That's surprising to me that, people are, in this wait and see on refinance, where refinance is just numbers. It makes sense or it doesn't.
No, couldn't agree more. And to that end, I think people are sleeping on mortgage applications. This is a number we get each and every week. Again, mortgage applications have been up double digits for seemingly 10 months in a row, something crazy. Just this week, purchase applications up 8% week on week, 20% year on year. Refis, to your point, down 6% week on week, but up 117% year on year, folks. Again, as I've said, I think we're going to go through 3 waves of refis. There's going to be the rate and term, which again, I think started in September. Then there is going to be the persons who do cash out refis, which could start as soon as Q1. And then if we go low enough, we will actually reinvigorate the entry-level housing. We will get move-up buyers selling and buying, creating multiple transactions, and things could get really, really good for the mortgage market in 2026. Instead of having a record September, you might have a record quarter and whatnot. So I think that's
over a record year, man.
Yeah, record year. There you go.
Year since 21. That's what I'm hoping for.
There you go. There you go. Well, that's my next one. We'll do one more each. Again, I think people are shocked at the mortgage applications, and I don't think they're paying attention, because that means something that these numbers are up so big.
Yeah, for sure. I think that this one, it might just be that I've never paid attention to it, and I am now. But something that has surprised me, and people use a fancy word like regional divergence. It really surprises me how you can have a market that's up 5% year on year and doing really well, another market that's down 23%. That to me is surprising. Maybe it's not new. Maybe it's just like I've never looked at things outside of my, California bubble, and now all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, Austin,
Right.
this part of Florida, how can they be struggling so much? And I shouldn't ask a dumb question like that, right? If you build like crazy and demand doesn't support all that building, prices are going to come down. But that's a surprise for me that, if nothing else, the lesson for everybody is don't assume that housing market information, data, news that you hear has anything to do with your local market. Your local market could be doing something totally different than somebody who's talking about another part of the country or the housing market as a whole.
Yeah, I'm going to cheat my show. I'm going to give you 2 as my third one. We're going to do a 3 and a 3.5. The first one is shelter inflation. Again, I think a lot of people are looking at shelter inflation and CPI and going, inflation is crazy. But again, if you step back and actually do the math, shelter inflation, last I read, was reported at 3.6% inside CPI, which again is 30%. So roughly speaking, 1 full percentage point of inflation is shelter. However, if you actually step back and look at actuals, rents are down, right? At worst case, rents are flat. So we are over reporting inflation to the tune of at least 1 full percentage point. So we're not at 2.9, it should be 1.9. And then, the Fed's winning, right? 2% mandate achieved. Congrats, success. We move on. And then my second one will be prices. Again, people have been talking about the death of the housing market forever. People had called for a 5% crash last year, or 9% crash this year, and a 50% crash next year. And again, we're going to end this year right around flat, about 1% or so. Again, there's this thing called price elasticity. I strongly suggest people look it up. It shocks people all the time that housing is sticky. And yes, we had a housing crash. It was in transactions, not price, like I told you. And it will be much the same next year. So, Matt, any closing thoughts? And of course, where can people find you?
Go to mtmg.com. Me and my team are happy to help. You can book a call. You can chat and ask questions with the tools we have on there. You can poke around and find information. So mtmg.com. It's the best way to connect with us. I think in closing, man, it's the day before Thanksgiving. This is always a time where I didn't feel it until we jumped on the call, but I'm like, man, I got so much to be grateful for. So first and foremost, happy Thanksgiving to you and Olivia and your family. I'm grateful for these awesome conversations we get to have every week. I'm grateful for every ORAT member who calls me and has a random question and, starts the call just like everybody does. Oh, this is a different one. This is I've got conversations every day and they're all different, right? And they're all, unique and crazy in their own way. So I'm just really grateful for, I put on a personal post on Facebook recently, as I get older, things come into focus and I realize it's health and family are the only things that matter. And, I've got a great family and I've got good health and I'm super grateful for it.
Awesome, buddy. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy. And good luck at the Kings game.
Gosh darn it, those dang Kings. I'm not grateful for how you guys have started this year, but you can make it up to me. Turn it around. Hustle like you did on Monday night against the Timberwolves. Show a little bit of grit. Show a little bit of, hustle and effort. That's all I ask. Just like I ask of my 7th, 8th grade basketball team. I don't care if we win or lose. Just go out there and give it your best.
There you go.